Hey everybody, and we are live with Angel Castro this Friday afternoon. Thanks for joining us, Angel.
Oh no, Mike, thank you. I've watched almost every single of videos that you put out there, and I'm looking forward to this. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh my God, so am I. So Angel is a cyber intelligence technical director for the Army as a government civilian, correct?
That is correct.
Fantastic. But you have a path that kind of started as a first sergeant, right? And then, well, it started earlier than that, but
yeah.
You were a first sergeant, then you transitioned into the contracting world, and then went around to the Air Force and the Army. So can you kind of it's an interesting path to go from there. Can you share with us what you were as a first sergeant and then your path to where you are today?
No, absolutely. So, like you said, the end of my career was as a first sergeant, and I was stationed at Fort Polk, Louisiana. I was an OC when I was there. Yeah, and I was not planning to retire there, but medical things and some other issues basically made the decision for me.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately for me, every single mistake that service members make, I made them because I didn't have enough time. I had about maybe 6 months to transition. I was lucky though at the time when I was working at JRTC, they started a new IED defeat cell, and they were looking for contractors to provide intelligence support to the rotational units. So it was a no-brainer. I didn't even have to interview. Somebody asked me, "Hey, I know you're retiring. And are you interested in this job?" I was like, well, yeah, because I don't have a job right now, right? So I did that for about 6 months. And then my family moved to San Antonio. And it took me a minute to find a job here in San Antonio, but I was able to get in with another company, a local contracting company.
Mm-hmm.
And we're supporting basically the Air Force, the Rivet Joint. So did that for about a year, give or take. And then I had the opportunity to actually work for Booz Allen as a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
I had a buddy of mine that he was working for Booz Allen, and he was able to, through networking, was able to get an interview, and I was hired as a Allsource.
All right, well, give me one second.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the first job. And it was CounterIED Intel.
Yep, that is correct.
When you were an OC at Fort Polk, were you in intelligence?
Yes, I was the part of the task force. They used to be called Task Force 4.
Mm-hmm.
And my team was the intelligence team, providing support to the intelligence unit, the MICO, basically, the MI companies coming through as part of the the rotational units.
So it
was a small team. Yeah, it was a small team. It was about maybe 12 or 14 of us in the intel, and we had everything from the SIGINT part. We had the humans, UAV. So we have a pretty eclectic group of people. Right. Very interesting conversations.
I can imagine. Were you an all-source intel guy in your career?
Negative. So through my career, I was actually a linguist for most of my career. But as you understand, as you get promoted,
technical director, keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it gets better.
Yeah.
But as you know, in the Army, as you get promoted, you do a lot less of the technical work and a lot more of the administrative, running the platoon, then companies and such.
Okay.
Yeah.
So intel background, linguist, for most of your career, you get this direct hire opportunity to do the CounterIED intelligence, right?
Correct.
Lasted 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah, without you don't have to mention the employer or anything like that. But I mean, what was good, bad, indifferent? Why did you change? I want people to understand the thought process behind that.
Yeah. Well, so like I mentioned, when since I had to retire so fast, that was kind of one opportunity. The positives were it was a job, although at the time I was still in transition leave.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to call it. Yeah, but and the positives that I was able to stay in the Intel field.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to go back and do kind of refresher on the intelligence cycle and all these other great things that we do. Because as a first sergeant, I was not doing a lot of that. The negatives, well, I was still an OC. I was still working long hours in the box. Yeah, I was getting paid, but it was almost exactly the same job as being an OC, but in civilian clothes.
Right.
So,
okay, that makes sense. So you just kind of went back as a civilian doing pretty much what you did before.
As a contractor, yes.
Yep, as a contractor, and it's not quite the same.
No.
I want to highlight a point to our audience right now that you said you had about 6 months, and it wasn't enough.
Oh, no.
And so just something to keep in mind for people. You had 6 months, it wasn't enough, so you just had to take a job, right?
Right. It just worked out that time.
And then you decided to move to San Antonio. You found another job. You did it for about a year, and then you went on to Booz.
Right.
And you went to Booz as an Allsource.
So I know. So they initially hired me as an Allsource because that was what they were looking for. And I mean, there's a lot of transferable skills. When you're an analyst, you're an analyst, right? So the basics are about the same. They're just different nuances that you have to kind of understand. And I was not a trained Allsource, so I learned the hard way, basically. Especially with the briefings, we did a lot of briefings. We had to do a lot of PowerPoints, a lot of papers, and I was not used to that. So it took me a minute to get used to that. But then I had the opportunity I was with Booz for about 4 years. And you got,
I'm sorry, but hold on. And you got to Booz because you knew someone.
So networking, yeah.
Right.
There was somebody working for them, and we got in touch, and they say, hey, there might be something for you. Let me get your resume, and let's talk to some people, kind of informational interviews like we're doing now. And thank God it worked for me.
That's incredible. I mean, it just because you were probably a non-traditional candidate for that role. Like you said, you had to learn. An analyst is an analyst, but you had to learn some different things.
Yes.
The stories didn't quite relate, so having that referral helped bridge the gap.
Yes. It was basically the difference between applying to the cloud and never hearing anything, and at least getting somebody calling you back and say, hey, I got your resume. Let's talk about this.
All right. So you went to Booz. You worked for a few years as an all-source analyst. You became a master of that trade.
I was I was comfortable enough doing the presentations, doing the papers, the briefings, and all those wonderful things that you do.
Yeah. And then what was next?
So with Booz, I had the chance to go back to doing SIGINT, a different project, helping the client to do the analysis. So I was able to do that for about a year. So all of these things almost exactly went for about a year, every single one of them. And I think part of that is, as you know, when you're in a consulting firm, a lot of those contracts, they come and go, and then you get new businesses. And with my skills, I was able to help to support some of those new contracts. So
yeah, I think other people need to realize that you just get offered better opportunities.
Right.
I mean, as new work is being won, as they're looking for new leaders, as they're creating opportunities. If you're networked, then they start thinking of you. And so if you build a great reputation and a good book of work, and you don't jump too much, like every 3 months or every 5 months,
right,
the roles show progression, then that's fine. It sounds like what happened with you. So so
there was the opportunity. Yeah, opportunity. They offer it to me. I could have said, no, you know what, I'm good. I'm like doing what I'm doing. Next. But not unfortunately, actually, when those opportunities present to yourself, I mean, you have to take them. I mean, especially the way you come up in the Army, you're looking always for that promotion, and those things actually help. So
yeah. So you went over, worked for Booz in the SIGINT world again.
correct.
Intelligence there in San Antonio, I'm assuming, right?
Yep. All this is here in San Antonio. Yes.
And then what was next?
So after about 4 years, give or take, I really wanted to come back to government service. I absolutely enjoyed my time with Booz. They were great, a lot of training and a lot of opportunities, but I actually kind of miss working for the government.
Okay.
I will have to tell you that it was not a easy thing. I mean, just going through USA Jobs, we all know that takes a minute. And again, like I said at the beginning, I made every single mistake that we all make in USA Jobs. One resume for everything, and then you wonder, well, there's been 300 applications and nobody's calling me. Well, because you're not using the right resume, you're not doing it the right way. Learn my lesson the hard way. But one of those applications, was with the Air Force to work in one of their cyber teams. And the position they were looking for was intelligence support to cyber operations, basically, which is, in Army speak, is basically a SIGINT analyst, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to get in with the Air Force. Did that for about a year and a half or so. There was an opportunity for a promotion. I don't know if you see a trend here.
Yeah. I mean,
doing a slightly different job, a little bit more on the cyber side of the house, more of the networking side of the house, understanding that to also help with the intelligence picture, right? So it was a little bit of a learning curve because that is not my background.
Right.
But the Air Force sent me to all kinds of trainings, like all the Net Pluses, Sec Plus, CAS, CEH, CCNA, SANS, you name it. Every course that what we needed to take, they were funding it. At the time, cyber was just starting, so there was enough training money to send people for training. So applied for that job, got picked up. Thank God I got the promotion that I wanted. And again, that was another year for change. But then I noticed that the Army was looking for kind of a like a supervisory type, leader type thing. And I was kind of like, you know what, I understand the Army. I think I want to do that. And it was a promotion as well. So I was super fortunate that everything worked out. I was hired, went to work for the Army, and it's been about almost 5 years now.
That's awesome. So the Air Force trained you for your job in the Army, basically.
So yeah, you can say that. You can say that. So these teams, right, because there's cyber teams, they are about the same no matter what the service component is, right? So you have to do a JQR, JQS, go through that. There's certain training courses you have to do, National Cryptology School, things like that you do. So yeah, basically the Air Force trained me to go and work for the Army.
They didn't promote you enough. And so you took another opportunity, which is the way things work in the world. If you don't give talent room to grow, then they leave. I mean, that's the way the world works out here. So that's fantastic. We've got a couple questions before we get into your current job.
Okay.
We've got, there we go. How did you position yourself to maximize receiving opportunities like those promotions, new jobs, and things like that?
Yeah. So the problem with this, and it's not really a problem, it's just the way it is, with the service component civilian GG jobs, is that for the most part, what you get hired as, that's your job. So say you get hired, just for the sake of conversation, you get hired as a 12. If you want a 13, you need to apply for another job. Now, whether that is with the same organization or somewhere else, so be it. But if you want to get promoted, you need to be on the lookout to move on.
Yeah, up that ladder, right?
And that's kind of unfortunate because, I mean, you developed your talent, you train them, which is fine. I mean, you want to make sure that your people, get the training they want, that they feel that you're supporting them. And if they want to leave, absolutely, thank you for your service, and we'll see you around. I mean, you might see me right behind you,
So how did you position yourself? I mean, there's a lot of growth within your post-military career, a lot of promotion opportunities. How did you position yourself to find those opportunities? Was it always looking, or was it something else?
Well, so that's one of the ingredients, right? When I first came into the Air Force, I thought I had it made. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm retiring out of this job, and that's it, right? So I just want to do the best I can as an analyst, and just do what I got to do to whenever I want to retire.
Mm-hmm.
But as you start learning the process, you start learning the job and what it entails and the different positions, and the different things that you can do. Then you're like, I think that job opening, I think I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So let me make sure that I have the training, the experience, and that I'm up to date on the skills that are needed for that job to be able to compete, right? And as long as you have that in your resume, and you can, when you have your interview, that you can express that, then you will have a really good chance of at least making it to the interview.
So it sounds like once you learned your job and felt comfortable in your job, suddenly you were looking like, well, what's next?
Right.
What's the next promotion, just like you did throughout your military career, and then made sure you did the things necessary to make you competitive.
Yeah, exactly. And it gets harder, right? As you keep going up, it gets a little bit harder because it's just like the Army. There's a whole bunch of, E1s, E2, E3. As you keep going up, the numbers keep getting smaller and smaller. So you're competing for less positions, basically. So you really have to be on your A game, and just be on the lookout. Apply. If you don't apply, nobody's gonna come to your house and say, "Hey, I have this job for you."
And make sure your network. If your network's there, they can give you a leg up. So that's a great question Celisa had.
Yeah.
What resources did you use to either network and prepare your resumes?
Yeah. So I straight up used the USA Jobs interface. Just went in there, and as I have been learning lately, last couple of years, about every year or so, I update my resume. You learn new things, you do new missions, you get new skills. Something else that I keep doing, even though I have a pretty good job, every opportunity I have for, say, leadership courses, like Fort Leavenworth, they have a lot of senior leaders courses, intermediate courses, advanced course, and those kinds of courses, take advantage. I was able to do a course at Harvard University. As my
you went to the Harvard one.
I did the Senior Executive Fellows. Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So those things, but you have to go out and look for the opportunities and apply. And sometimes people don't know about them, so you have to know what you want and try to get the right answer. Sometimes it's no, based on mission, based on budget, and all other things. But and so that's one of my the ways that I do it. I just try to keep myself up to date, try to learn as much as I can, because I do work with soldiers, and their skills are amazing. They're up the roof. You have to keep up with them.
So we have one other question, then I want to get into your day at work. So Gene says, did you ever regret leaving one of the jobs you had for another promotion?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Awesome.
And the reason is because I made the decision understanding that every time you get a new job, there's a potential that it's going to be worse, right? It's not always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
So I just went in fully understanding that this could backfire on me. and just accepting the consequences. It's like, it doesn't work, then I guess you have to look out for something else.
Yeah, but you also own it. So if it isn't exactly what you thought it was, then you can make it that. We have the ability to impact whatever we decide. So I think that's fantastic. So to make sure we don't just talk about your transition story and talk about your job. Yeah. So let's talk about, what is I wrote it down, Cyber Intelligence Technical Director. So like, you're a GS civilian. So what is
actually GG?
GG, I'm sorry.
Which is the difference.
Yep. But you want to explain what the difference is?
So that we don't go down too much of a rabbit hole. GS, you have tenure basically.
Yep.
So, and GG, you don't necessarily get that. I mean, still a federal job. You still get all the benefits. It's just a different pay system. And evaluation system. So the GG scale is exactly the same as the GS, 1 through 15, 10 steps, and with everything that goes in between, you're, for not for promotions, but for step increases.
Yeah.
But the bigger difference is really the tenure. I say GG, you don't get that, and GS, you do get that.
So when you talk about tenure as a GS, it's harder to get rid of a GS employee. Is that what you mean by tenure?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to go there.
Okay, I'll say it.
Because to tell you the truth, there's a lot of civil servants that work very hard.
Yeah,
I know. I see a lot of comments. People always saying like, well, you just go there and just go drink coffee all day and whatever. But that's not my experience. I mean, does it happen? Probably, but that's not my experience.
Look, honestly, I had soldiers that did the same thing. So that's life. Life is,
right.
We're a big pool of diversity, and you get good, you get the bad, you get in between. So, but right. What I interpret tenure to mean is that when someone is tenured, then they've put in the time, and it's hard if something changes to just like, they're a little bit more secure in their job.
Yeah, sure.
Tenure from like the college rules and stuff like that, teachers.
Yeah, you could say we could do a whole other program just in USA Jobs and the civil service and all this other stuff.
Let's schedule one of those. So let's talk. Maybe we'll get a bunch of government civilians to come in and talk about that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, because it's not a simple system. There's all kinds of different things, and you have to understand it. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So cyber intelligence technical director. What do you do?
All right.
Like general terms.
Yeah. So basically, like I said, my team provides intelligence support to another team, right? So just like everything else, cyber is no different. You need to have the intel picture of what it is that you want to do.
Right.
Who I went there, where, how, and all that stuff. So, so my team basically gets that for some of the other teams, some agencies. Depends who we're working for.
Like IPB for the cyber people.
Well, so funny you say that, because in my team, I don't have Allsource analysts. That's not one of my my jobs, if you will. I have the Intel analyst, what you probably know as SIG Intel analyst. I have network analysts, and I have software developers. That's kind of and reporters. Okay, so that's kind of the big 3 or 4 that I have in my team. So the Allsource, we have some of those. They're not in my team.
So I guess I would say IPC then. Like you can't. You're not. Allsource isn't as much going to help when you're talking about the people you're supporting in the cyber arena. It's more about getting the information they need to operate, to protect, and all that other stuff. So I'm guessing 9 to 5 job, hour and a half lunch, sipping coffee all day, 3 meetings, like totally easy cush job, right?
Yeah.
You've seen my video, so.
Yeah. So my schedule for the most part is pretty close to the 8:30-ish to about 5. Mm-hmm. We do have to take at least a 30-minute lunch break. So the day is about 8.5 hours. If you take longer lunch break, then you have to make it up. It's kind of like almost like if you're a contractor in that sense. They want you to go take your lunch. You need to disconnect, go walk around, breathe some fresh air. Because it's amazing. And that sometimes you're there for hours and hours, and next thing you know, it's like, oh my God, it's already 4 o'clock. I haven't been out of this building, right?
Yeah, and there's no window, right?
Yeah. So yeah, about 8:30 to 9, get in. Basically, my first stop is looking at my emails because we collaborate with a whole bunch of different people. We have very specific, problems that sometimes we have to, from a couple of days, you try to get in touch with somebody, especially now during COVID. And it takes a couple of days to get responses. And sometimes you have to immediately stop what you're doing to go call somebody because there's a problem. We're doing the same thing, or hey, something happened that it's an emergency. We have to do something to fix it, or somebody can log into the computer, or we have a meeting to talk about collection requirements. And so go through my emails and then kind of triage out of that, see what is an emergency, what is not such an emergency. And then I just talk to my people, talk to my analysts, say, okay, where we at, what are we doing today, any challenges, any issues, do I have to call somebody to make this work? We do have meetings, a lot of meetings. We do have a couple of different teams, not just Army, but Air Force, Navy. We have other agencies that we have to work together. So that collaboration and the communication is super important. If we don't have that, then we have nothing, and we'll probably be doing the same, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah. So I think that's an interesting point, I guess. So since you work in a SCIF and the government, has your hours, like the GG scale, like you're supposed to work 40 hours, right? Not 39, not 42 for the most part.
Yeah. So again, there's a complete, like we could be doing this for 2 days, but there's different flexible schedules that you can work on, 410s, you can do 5 flex, there's all kinds of different things. So, but overall, you definitely want to do your 40 hours. That's a no-brainer. You have to do that.
But I think the interesting part about it is you have to go into work. Like you can't, right, for the most part, since a lot of your stuff's on other networks and is classified, you really can't work from home that often at all. So you have to go in. Yeah.
So for the most part, right, there's some things that is the Army.
Yeah.
I mean, we are. And maybe this is why I like it. But it's as an Army civilian, you're a soldier basically without a uniform. All the 350-1 training. Yeah, that needs to get done. All the administrative things, all the meetings, all that stuff still needs to get done. And I do have a team of people that I supervise. So evaluations, awards, orders to go somewhere, DTS, all this other stuff, you can actually do it at home.
Right.
But for the most part, no, you're correct. I cannot do my job from home. No.
So even during the heart of COVID,
nope.
You guys had to go in.
As a matter of fact, I was in for the most part. Almost every week. So.
Wow. Well, thankfully, I don't know, like you got your second COVID shot today, right?
Yesterday, yeah.
Yesterday, so that's fantastic. I'm excited to see that they're taking care of you guys that are in that windowless environment for the most part, 8 hours a day, near each other, so that's fantastic that they prioritize.
Mike, it's even worse because they have windows, you just cannot open them. So you have shades. You see shades of the sun, or if it's raining or whatever, but you cannot open the window.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. So that's not like the SCIFs I used to work in. We didn't have windows, so they're getting better.
I've been in plenty of those as well, and I will take the closed windows every day.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we're at 30 minutes. These go faster than I always think they will. I know that we're going to have to set up another session with a few other government civilians to just talk the GES, GG world, and the USA Jobs world. I think that would be a lot of fun. I guess two questions. One, can anybody that's tuned in reach out to you directly if they have questions?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm in LinkedIn. I post things and articles and things all the time. So yeah, reach out.
Yep. And I saw Robert said, I think Robert would say that, he agrees. So you've got a fan there.
Well, Robert was the first person that I had the opportunity to mentor in Veterati. So I also do that. And he was the first person. So he has special place.
I would say that if anybody watching this saw the smile on your face when I just popped up Robert's picture, they would realize how important it is for you to continue how important it is to you to continue mentoring. So
absolutely.
That's awesome. And I guess any last word, any bit of advice for anybody looking to transition, whether it's into the cyber career or not?
Well, so something that I was thinking about, my job is almost like being in the service, and I think that's why I like it. Mm-hmm. But if you have folks out there that are tired of being in the service per se, doing all the training, doing all the crazy things that they want you to do, might not be for you, because it's the Army, it's the Air Force. They have everything that you did as an airman or as a soldier, you're going to have to do as a civilian, minus the PT, which I appreciate, and some of the sergeant's time, which sometimes we do participate. So if you want to get away from that, maybe you want to consider, other government organizations. I mean, DOD is not the only one. There's a whole bunch of other agencies that you can join. And oh, by the way, if you don't do DOD, you don't have to wait the 6 months after you retire. So,
right. No, that's fantastic. Well, Angel, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Thank you for continuing to mentor so much in our community. It's great to see your success and your path to where you are today. And something tells me that this is not the last job for you. And I think everybody else here is going to agree with that you're going to continue growing and kind of charting, blazing a trail for the rest of us. So
yeah, no, thank you, Mike. This is really great. I was looking forward to this, and you're right. Time went by really fast. I might have to get into another one of your sessions. So thank you for the opportunity. It's really appreciated.
We'll do it for sure. Well, have a great weekend and please stay safe.
All right, you too. Bye.